150 million quid. That's the price that West Ham United have gently placed on the head of Declan Rice ahead of the summer transfer window, according to the Evening Standard. They've done 2 articles today in regards to West Ham. We're going to discuss them both, and the first one is around Declan Rice and where he may or may not go. And to stop him going somewhere, or to certainly put off those clubs, West Ham have valued him at 150 million. And I have to say, I think the club have handled this right, to be honest with you. The whole situation with Declan Rice, we've seen in the past where, you know, there's talk of a player leaving and it just never gets handled well by our club. We go into this panic mode situation and start firing off things left, right and centre through their friends in the media and stuff. And, you know, the Marko Arnautovic one's probably the most recent one, where it just turns ugly and it just feels like the club back themselves into a corner where they can't really win anymore. They're up against it, over a barrel, sorted. But the Declan Rice thing, I have to say, I've been quite impressed by the club. You know, they've offered him a contract, he's not signed it. I imagine has made it clear to the club that he wishes to move on, and that's why he won't sign the contract. And when I say I think the club have handled it well, I think Declan's handled it just as well too. I think, you know, at some point, sometimes players do want to leave clubs for whatever reason, whether it's money or ambition and stuff. And in this case, it is purely ambition. And I think Declan and the club have done it well. I think they have, actually. And I think this is another thing that they've done right, West Ham, which is put a massive price tag on his head and make it clear what the price tag is. I keep referring to Leicester City selling Harry Maguire. You know, the world knew he was 80 million. Man United wanted him. They said, that's fine, he's 80 million. We're not going to tell you he's not for sale, because every player has a price. Here we are with Declan Rice, that's his price, it's 150 million. Now, if you're a fan of Man United or Chelsea, because it seems like a 2-horse race, we'll get onto that in a second, and you're sitting there thinking, he's not worth 150, that's the point. I'm going to have a little rant now before we discuss it a little bit calmer. He's not worth 150 million to your club. That is what he's worth to West Ham. We're not here to do you, Man United, or you, Chelsea, a favour. We're here to get the best deal for West Ham United. And if you think 150 million is too expensive, that's the point. We don't want to sell him. However, if we do sell him, we're going to cash in on him. We're going to get more money than what we're probably supposed to. More money than the market value, perhaps. That is exactly what we should be doing, and that is exactly what we are doing. West Ham have got it right. Now, like I said, if Man U or Chelsea think it's too expensive, good. Go somewhere else and find somebody else and leave us with Declan Rice. Happy days. And I think West Ham are, if they stick to their guns, that is, they're in a win-win situation here. Either they keep a world-class player here next season, or they get a hell of a lot of money, which they can then use for an overhaul of a squad. Article number 2 in the Evening Standard. We'll discuss that in a bit. But it feels like it's a 50-50 now. A 2-horse race for Declan Rice's destination if he was to leave West Ham. Which I don't think is... a couple of months ago, I was sort of like resigned to losing Declan. I was last summer as well, to be honest with you. But in the last couple of weeks, I don't know. I've just got a feeling we might keep him beyond this summer. If he goes, he goes. If he stays, wonderful. Like I said, we are assuming we stick to our guns with the price tag. Now, do I think we'll stick to 150 million? Not necessarily. If a club comes in with 110 million, I'd imagine our West Ham will start to buckle a little bit and it'll be okay, now it's getting serious, let's have a discussion and see where we can meet in the middle somewhere. I don't think it would take 150 million to get him out of West Ham, but I think you'd be looking at least 100 million to get him out of West Ham. So, but I think it's becoming a 2-club race now, Chelsea and Man U. I think that's it. I don't think there's any other club interested in Declan Rice, regardless of the price tag. I think it's between those two, and they're both at different but pivotal moments in regards to sort of their transition. You know, we know what's going on at Stamford Bridge, which is believed to be Declan's preferred destination. He would rather go to Chelsea. Now, they've obviously got Champions League football to offer him. He is a Chelsea fan. His best mate plays for that club. His family are from around West London, in that area. You know, we've seen him on the overlap with Gary Neville, speaking about how family is extremely important to him and stuff like that. So you'd imagine, you can understand why Chelsea is the preferred move. But we all know what's going on at that club at the minute. Sanctions placed on them by the government, so they can't buy any players as it stands. However, it sounds like the sale of Chelsea is going to be going through over the next couple of months, and by the time the summer transfer window opens, new owners should be in place. However, who will the owners be? How much money will they have? Will they agree to spend over £100 million on one player? We don't know. So I think the move to Chelsea is sort of like up in the air at the minute, isn't it? Nobody knows what's going on. Well, meanwhile, Old Trafford, they're going through their managerial process at the minute. It sounds like they're interviewing players this week, and in the next couple of weeks they're hopefully going to confirm which manager is going to be in charge at Manchester United next season. Now, speaking of two horse races, while they're interviewing 4 or 5 managers, it sounds like Pochettino and Ten Hag are the two leading candidates. Both really good managers. You know, Pochettino's not doing the best at PSG, but we know what he did at Spurs, or what he almost did at Spurs, I should say. But he'd be a good manager at Man United. Ten Hag, for those that have watched this channel for over the last 2-3 years, I love him. He's always been my number one preferred manager for West Ham if we could have got him. I think, obviously, not anymore. But I do think 2-3 years ago we might have been able to get him from Ajax. I think he'd be a fantastic fit at Old Trafford. I really do. And I guess this is the conundrum that Declan Rice has got, really. Man United may not have Champions League football to offer him next season, and we know that's his goal. He wants to win the competition, not just play it, he wants to win that competition. Could Man U persuade Declan Rice to go up to Manchester? Probably. I'd imagine they probably would. And if you've got someone like Ten Hag as the manager there, I think it becomes a far more appealing to Declan Rice. A manager who's got great success using younger players, great success domestically and in European football as well. I can see why that would become appealing to Declan Rice immediately if Ten Hag went in there as a manager at Man United. But does Ten Hag want Declan Rice? We don't know. We have to wait and see. But I think this is what West Ham are doing. I think West Ham are just getting prepared. And it's the right thing to do. We have to be prepared. We have to be ready for either club or another club making a move for Declan Rice this summer. Why wouldn't we? He's had a fantastic season. He is world class. He has been world class. It's really easy to see why these clubs, both clubs who are screaming out for a centre midfielder, would be looking at Declan Rice as well. You know, he may be England's captain one day. Certainly, he's one of their main players already in that starting 11 in Southgate's squad going to the World Cup as well. Easy to see why either club wants them. I guess it's a case of, does Declan want to go to either of them? But he's quite young. He's only just turned 23. And this is why part of me starts to think that he may just stay at West Ham for another season. I do think we'd have to have some form of European football. I think if we didn't have any, I think it would become a bit more difficult to persuade him to give us another year at West Ham. But let's just say we got Europa League football, or if we went on to win the Europa League and we had Champions League football, I could easily see him thinking, you know what, I'll just wait another year and see how the situation at Chelsea develops. I'll see how the new manager gets on at Man United, and then possibly what in a year's time Man City might then want me. They probably don't at the minute. We know they're likely going to go get a striker, whether it is Haaland or someone else. They're probably going to go spend their money on a striker. But in a year's time, who knows? They might need a centre midfielder. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if Declan Rice was here beyond the summer. But if he does go, we've got to hold our nerve. Anything less than 100 million for Declan Rice just isn't good enough. I'd like closer to 150 million. Of course I would, as a West Ham fan. But I can understand why the club would get a little bit wobbly-kneed if Chelsea came in and bid 100 million, or Man U bid 105 million or something with Declan Rice. I can understand why they start to get a little bit panicky and a little bit nervous. These are negotiations that our owners have never been involved for. You know, they 20 million, that's the maximum they've been in. I know they've had a couple of players come in higher up than that, but usually 20 million is the highest they go. We've seen them try and buy players for 50 million in January. They couldn't do it. So selling players 100 million, why would we think that they're going to hold the nerve? I don't. I think 120 million-ish, I think you guarantees you Declan Rice. Anyway, the second article in the Evening Standard says that David Moyes has had a meeting with West Ham this week, which is not surprising really, but basically he's outlining what he wants for the summer transfer window, and the wording was interesting, which is David Moyes is planning his overhaul at this club. Now, it was in relation to Sven Botman, the Lille centre-back, saying that, you know, that West Ham were very much monitoring him because he's leaving Lille in the summer. David Moyes is still a keen admirer, left-sided centre-back. Will face competition. David Moyes still wants him though. But there's also a couple of other alternatives, but a centre-back is certainly on the list as part of the overhaul. Now, overhaul suggests major, doesn't it? So it suggests big. Now, big can be either 2 or 3 key players leaving and coming in, or many changes, numbers. And I think it's going to be a little bit of both, really, because we know Fredericks is likely to go. We know that Masuaku's up for sale, allegedly. Mark Noble is retiring. Alex Kral's getting sent back and is unlikely to be taken back at West Ham United. We've got a vacancy up front, which we've had for the last 18 months, possibly even 2. So there's 5 or 6 players needed at this club already before we even started upgrading. This is just replacing like-for-like players that are leaving. So I guess it is an overhaul that's needed. However, an overhaul ain't cheap, is it? And this is what, when I did the transfer rumour show yesterday, we spoke about Calvin Phillips. And I said, how can we spend 60 million on one player? I'm not sure we will. Unless we're going to have a couple of freebies come in, and there are loads of freebies. Maybe I'll do that for a video next week, eh? All the players running out of contract in England, France, Italy, Spain. Oh, just while speaking of players out of contract, I've seen this. I'm not going to do a video about it specifically, but we're being linked to Lovren. Remember him? The former Liverpool centre-back, Croatian centre-back, Lovren. Well, anyway, he's playing in Russia at the minute, so he's one of the players that's available on a free until the end of the season. West Ham are being linked to him today, so just thought I'd throw that in there. Don't particularly want to see him at West Ham. I can understand why Logboy's out injured. We're maybe looking at him. It's a risk-free loan, isn't it, Lovren? So you never know. West Ham may make a move for him and try and get him in. We'll wait and see on that one. But anyway, going back to what David Moyes has indirectly said, if you like, which is we need an overhaul. Well, we do. And that costs big money. I just hope the Evening Standard's 2 articles aren't related without them saying it's related. Do you know what I mean? I just hope that Declan Rice is going to be funding the overhaul, because we should have a decent bit of money to spend. I always get frustrated when we get told that we're not going to spend in this window, we'll save up for the next window, because we never do we? We'll go into the next window and still spend a decent amount, say 40 million, but that's for that window. Where's the leftover lolly from the window before and the window before that? It never accumulates going forward. It just sort of disappears and no one speaks about it, kind of thing. So by right, we're still waiting for the Sebastian Haller money to be spent, aren't we? So by right, this summer we should have about 100 million to spend. However, do I believe that? In May, the cough return, the cough return. But anyway, do I believe that? Do I believe we'd have about 100 million to spend? Not really. And this is what gets me a little bit worried, because what is West Ham's best interests? Keeping Declan Rice, or selling Declan Rice for north of 100 million and using it to do said overhaul? I'd like to think it's keeping him, because Declan Rice isn't priceless. I saw a good tweet earlier from West Ham Fan Zone. It was to gauge opinions of others, and it said, what do you make of the 100 million? Or do you consider Declan Rice to be priceless? I don't think he is priceless, but that's because I think every player in football's got price. I don't think anyone's priceless, but what I do think he is irreplaceable. I don't think we can replace him, but I think he's probably also sort of immeasurable as well. It's difficult to sort of put a finger on it and say just how important he is to West Ham, because he's the captain, he's our best player. There's some games where he saves our arses, basically. I'm not just talking about Kidderminster in the FA Cup, but he is regularly and consistently, almost week in, week out, our best player. Certainly when you do your man of match contenders or whatever, he's in the top 3 every single week. And when he has an average game in comparison to the rest of them, it looks like he has a really bad game. He's not played that badly. It's just that his standards are so high that when he comes down to the level of an average game for somebody like, say, Adam Creswell or Thomas Souček, it looks like he's had a really poor one, just because his numbers are up there. All the statistics back up what we're all saying. Clubs these days rely a lot and trust data a lot, which is understandable. When you start to look at the numbers behind Declan Rice, another video idea for next week if I need to, all the numbers back it up. Is the ball taken from the middle third or your own third into the final third, the opposition's third of the pitch? Declan Rice is number 1 in the Premier League. Progressive passes, he's up there at the top of the Premier League at the minute now. All the numbers back up what West Ham fans have said for years now. This is a guy that's world class. Big summer coming up for West Ham, but also a big test if a club does make a move for Declan Rice, and a big decision for Declan as well, because he's almost, I feel like fate's in Declan Rice's hand here to some extent, which is take your pick. Are you going to Chelsea, Man United? Which one? he's got to get that right as well. Because if he gets it wrong, it's going to be difficult to get out of that club. Because if he goes to Man U for 100 million, say, it doesn't quite work out for whatever reason, or he's doing well, but you know, Man U aren't winning things, they're still struggling to a couple of seasons down the line, he's still got no medals to his name, and Chelsea are back winning the title again, he's going to want to go back to Stamford Bridge. But will Chelsea come calling and spend over 100 million to get him out of there? I'm not too sure. I think it's easier for him to leave West Ham than it is to leave whichever club he moves to from the Hammers. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Anyway, tomorrow we've got, right, I'll be doing a video tomorrow morning to ask you for a favour. It's like, it'll be about 2 minutes long. It's a bit beggy. I do apologise a little bit. Only tune in if you can be arsed. It's just a favour that I'm going to ask you, if you wouldn't mind spending 2 minutes doing something to help the channel out. Tomorrow night, myself and Gonzo will be recording a video tomorrow night, which is David Moyes' Premier League Dream Team. I've got my 11. Gonzo's going to have his 11. We don't know who's in each other's. Then we're almost going to have like a fight school about it, if you like, and say why we think this player will be in David Moyes' dream team. And then we're going to get you guys to sort of pick which player out of mine and Gonzo's and which is the 11 moving forward. Hopefully that makes sense. Recording the tier list tonight and sending it to Charlie. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a bit of fun, a bit of tongue-in-cheek. Hopefully people like it. One or two people will get offended by it, but I don't really care, to be honest with you. It's just a bit of fun. You get offended by it, I think you've taken it the wrong way, but it should be a good one. Also, a couple of years ago, myself and someone else, we started a transfer rumour in relation to West Ham wanting someone, and we tried to see how far it would go. Would it make mainstream media? Where would it get to? How far? So if you think like social media, West Ham fans, social media, non-West Ham fans, you know, maybe newspapers, Sky Sports, how far up could we get this rumour? And we never told anyone it was a fake rumour. We just put it out there and started discussing it as if it was someone else who made the rumour up, if you like. And we tracked it. Now the idea was I was going to be doing like a video, just a 2-minute video every week or two and sending it to Charlie. Then at the end of the transfer window, I'd have done maybe 15-20 minutes tracking this transfer rumour and the progress. Now I haven't done anything with it. I've not recorded any videos. That's why we've not told anyone about it. We've mentioned it over on Patreon, just in a little bit of fun. But when I asked for video ideas yesterday, someone said, why don't you tell us about the transfer rumour? This is me saying, do you want to know about it? It's not that interesting, but the reason I put it out there is because it's going to take me about a couple of hours to do it, because I need to go find all the stuff, which I don't mind, as long as people are arsed about it. But again, just a bit of fun, that's all. Right, I'm blabbering. I apologise. I'm going to shut up. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. And myself and Gonzo will catch you tomorrow.